Hey, welcome to Dad Space. It's Dave here. Hope you're doing well. I'm enjoying a coffee and a chocolate bar. As our friends in the US would say, a candy bar. Which I don't understand because chocolate bar is what it is. It's made from chocolate, not from candy, but whatever. Hi. Dave's in a rant already and my coffee hasn't even kicked in. I want to talk to you about make your home safe. Now, I don't mean like hiding all the things that kids can hurt themselves with. I mean creating a opportunity for connection in your home in a totally divided world around politics, religion, all of the hot topics. How do you make your house a safe place for your kids? We talk about it here on Dad Space. So go grab a cup of coffee and a chocolate bar for us Canadians and a candy bar for you Americans out there. Thanks for listening. Here we go. So, in Canada right now, it is election season, and I know a lot of people who are not in Canada don't follow Canadian politics, and to be quite honest, as a Canadian, I don't even follow Canadian politics very much. But right now, we're in a pretty big spot politically, and there's a lot of stuff going on. A lot of people canceling each other because of your views. There's a lot of people protesting. There's a lot of flag waving. There's a lot of signs on everyone's lawn right now. And it just makes me think, in a world that's so divided, very opinionated, everyone's got an opinion, everyone's trying to make their voice louder than the next person and fighting for camera time and fighting for the mic. How do we protect our family? How do we protect our home and make it a safe place for our kids to ask questions, come up with their own decisions on how they view the political landscape, their own opinions, but how do we do it in a way that can really help us to build trust and connection at home? Even as the world outside feels increasingly polarized, creating a safe, warm, and welcoming environment where everyone in your home and in your family feels heard, even if you disagree, yes, even if you disagree, I think is one of the most important gifts that we can give our family. And to do this, I want to run through a few things with you on what we can do in our home to make our homes a safe place. To agree, disagree, however we want to do it. But let's not bring the world into our home. Let our homes be a model to the world about how we can live our life with respect and honor and challenge each other. And at the end of the day, remain family and remain civil. I think it's possible. And I got a few ideas that you can try in your home as a dad. Here, let's jump in. What I'm finding is that people pick a side. So in Canada, we have conservatives, which would be like the Republicans in the US. We have liberals, which would be more like the Democrats. And then we have a bunch of other parties that make up the difference. Multiple choices, a lot of different things. They all have their own avenues, their own thing that they promote as their key principles and platforms. But in context, let's just focus on those two, liberal, conservative, Republican, Democrat. And what happens is I find that once people decide on what they believe in, then they surround themselves with similar voices who endorse what they believe, who champion what they believe, and who make them feel right on whatever the issue is. So they assign themselves to a group and then they immerse themselves in the group to the point where the group becomes this self-enclosed microcosm of people and beliefs who are not willing to listen to anyone outside of what they hold as true. And what I'm finding is there's less and less appetite to have conversations with people that you don't agree with. It's why I love podcasting, in the sense that if you are a staunch believer in one thing, there is an opportunity for you to listen to the other side, to hear their perspective, and to be open enough to realize that you don't know what you don't know, and that there may be a learning opportunity for you to expand your view of the world through the eyes of someone else. That would be a great situation for all of us. If we all could agree that everyone has value, every opinion matters, and that nobody should be made small or made fun of or canceled or ridiculed because they don't see the world through your eyes. Imagine if we could just agree that there is a space in this world where we could actually get along without our camps and retreating to our camps and firing shots at each other. I'll give you an example. I live near Niagara Falls and near the U.S. border, very close to the U.S. border. And in Niagara-on-the-Lake, we have a fort, a military fort, and it looks across the Niagara River to the U.S. side, to the U.S. fort across the river from us. And when I was doing a visit to the fort and getting a tour, they talked to us about an incident that happened on the Canadian side of the river. And what would happen is the Americans would come across by boat to Canada, to our fort, and we'd have dinner, they'd play cards, drink beer or whatever, and then go back to their fort. And the Canadians would do the same thing, jump in their boat, go across the river, have a great time with the Americans across the river at their fort, and then return back to the Canadian fort. Two different countries, opposite, across the river from each other, but civil, like treat each other with respect, until a war broke out between Canada and the U.S. But the U.S. soldiers were at the Canadian fort when the war broke out. And what happened was they went from sharing pleasantries and a meal and playing cards together to the U.S. soldiers pushing their chairs back from the table, standing up, exiting the Canadian fortress, and then returning to their fort to then begin bombing the Canadian fort they were just eating at. The food was still on the table. And now the Americans are attacking the Canadians. And that's kind of a thing that seems to be happening in our world. Not America, Canada, per se, but religious beliefs or political views or whatever. We go from being people who do life together in community to then separating ourselves based on a slogan, a flag, a color, a thing, a belief, a history, and we start treating each other terribly. That's who we're set. That's what the world we're sending our children out to, and they return to our home, experiencing through the news, through social media, what they're learning in school, what they're reading, all the things they're exposed to. They come home with this knowledge and experience, things they've seen out in the wild. They come back to our house. And my question to you is, what's your home life like? Is your home simply an extension of what's happening in the news? Is your home just more of what they're seeing at school, on campus, in the news, on social media? Or is your home a safe place where even if your kids have different beliefs or understandings or a worldview than you have, that your home is still a safe place where everyone can still be everyone and still love each other, still care deeply for each other, and stop shooting bombs at each other, right? Imagine a conversation happens over dinner, your kids push themselves away from the table, and now they're combative because of something you've held true as a parent, and now they see the world differently. You're at odds, and out come the bombs, out come the attacks, out come the hatred. for opposing views? And how do you handle that? So there's a few things I want to like you to think about, and all these are in the show notes, so you can follow along or read them later. So no need to take notes, but there are a few things that I want to instill for you, and maybe pick a couple of these and see how you can apply it to your home, especially as your kids get older, right? Because they're in that developmental stage where they're learning from the world and they're coming home and learning from you, and they're trying to make sense of it all. So how do you help them? The first thing I think you should think about is how you can model respectful curiosity for your kids as a parent. The big thing here is to be a parent who listens first, speaks second. We need to show genuine interest in our kids' perspectives, even if they differ from what we believe and hold true. And to ask open-ended questions like, what makes you feel that way when difference comes into the conversation? Or can you tell me more about what you've heard about this topic, this belief? By staying curious and not becoming combative with our kids, we avoid the urge to correct or debate immediately or dismiss something that our kids are wrestling with and forming their own opinions in life about. Let curiosity lead every conversation and come at it from that direction, because I can tell you that on social media, in classrooms, on campus, in friendship groups, they're not getting that level of curiosity. They're being preached to, yelled at, influenced by many sources. And how your approach differs is going to set apart your home from what they're experiencing in their daily life. So, how are you demonstrating as a dad your listen first approach? Is that your default setting, or are you quick to respond? Quick to dismiss, quick to overrule, quick to speak over somebody who differs from you? Are you quick to answer and slow to listen? Or are you quick to listen and slow to answer? What's your home life like? What's your kids' experience? And how do you show up? We need to model respectful curiosity in our home. And if we want our kids to be respectfully curious as adults when they grow up, you need to demonstrate that now. Be respectful and curious at the same time. And then the second part around this would be, as parents, our kids need to understand, like, what are the ground rules for discussions that we have in this house, in our home, so that nobody feels like they're being attacked? What are the ground rules? Let's establish that. Let's agree. This is how we'll treat each other when we have a difference of opinion, and respect each other even when we differ in opinion. What are the ground rules for discussions in our home? So out in the wild, there's name calling, there's shaming, there's physical attacks that happen, there's ghosting. There's all kinds of things that can happen when somebody stands up and shares what they believe to be true to them and their opinion. And that's what we don't want in our home. We don't want that to be mirrored inside of the security and safety of our home. No personal attacks at all. That just shuts down every conversation ever. Agree to disagree. Remind your family that it's okay for your kids and the parents to hold different views. And this goes both ways. The kids need to understand that it's okay that my parents see the world differently. And the parents, you need to understand it's okay for your kids to see the world differently. We're all our own people at the end of the day. And as we demonstrate a calm, caring, and loving home that's a safe place, you're going to get into disagreements with your kids. And I'm curious, how do you make sure that even if you disagree, we still, at the end of the day, shut the lights off, go to bed, and we still love each other. How do you do that? And how do you make that a reality for your family? It's really important. So the third part to this is sharing your values and not just your opinions. Explain the why. When sharing your views, talk about the values that shape them. Kind of like, how did you get to this point? How did you come to this belief, truth, decision, path? What brought you to this point? I think that we all learn better when we get context. Not just, well, this is my way, and this is my way or the highway, or do because I said so. Like, none of that stuff resonates with anybody. Talk about how you got to this belief. Like, why do you value that saying, that political party, that religion, whatever it is? How did you get there? And share your story. Your kids see you as an authority figure. They see you as a parent. They see you as someone who's over them. And they rarely see you as a human being who was once their age, who struggled, who continues to struggle. And anytime we can demystify us as an authority figure, a parent, and become more human to our kids, opens the door for us to have better communication and better back and forth. Because our kids don't see us as someone who holds power over us. They see us as an adult version of them. Someone who still doesn't have it all figured out. Explain your why. When sharing your views, talk about the values that shape them. For example, fairness, kindness, justice, rather than just stating your position. How did you get to that decision, belief? And invite reflection. Encourage your kids to think about the values behind their own beliefs and challenge them to not just parrot what someone else has said to them, what they've read or seen on TikTok, but challenge them to explain their core value underlying what they're talking about. Share your values and not just your opinions. And then the next one is really important. Create rituals of connection. Back in the day when I was growing up, we had family meals. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And our kitchen table was where we met. There was no eating in the living room or in front of the television or in our bedroom. The table is where the food was. And that's where family happened. That's where reconnection happened. I can see in my own family, as the kitchen table became a place for clutter, the mail, stuff we don't know where to put it, and the kitchen table today, right now, if you came to my house, is just piled high with crap. And that is no longer the home of conversation. Again, I'm an empty nester. My wife, Jen, and I, our kids are out of the house. It's just the two of us. And I don't think I can remember a time when even my wife and I sat at the kitchen table and had dinner together. Really, we sit in our chairs, we have the TV on, and that's life now. We've lost the connection of family mealtime and being together around a certain table at a certain point in time as a regular routine. Use dinner time as a safe place for open conversation. There's no phones. Nobody's on their devices. Nothing's in the background. And everyone is present in the moment. My challenge to you as an empty nest dad, to a younger dad, is to protect and prolong family mealtime as long as humanly possible. So that your kids grow up knowing that that is priority. And if it isn't, make it a priority. So that your kids grow up with that memory. On top of having regular ritual times together as family. Schedule regular check-ins. Like, make it a priority and ask them, like, how are you feeling about what's happening in the world today? Or is there anything that you want to talk about that you're seeing online? Or what are you hearing in school that confuses you? What are you seeing on TikTok that makes you curious, nervous, upset? And let's talk about it. Create rituals of connection around the dinner plate and in regular intervals with your kids. I love a family that celebrates differences. You are not your kids, and your kids are not you. You are not your kids, and your kids are not you. You weren't a carbon copy of your parents. They did things when you were growing up that you didn't enjoy. And also, likewise, your kids think that of you. I know you said to yourself that you would be a better parent to your kids than your parents were to you, but you know what? Your kids are saying the same thing about you. We need to celebrate the differences. Our kids are growing up in a different generation than you did. And you grew up in a different generation than I did. All of these are not weaknesses. They're also strengths. Highlight the strengths of difference and point out what you admire about your kids' independent thinking and their willingness to engage with tough topics and not just run to their room or sit on their phones. And learn together. Watch documentaries, read articles, listen to podcasts, attend events that expose you to a wide range of perspectives. In a world that's quick to hate, quick to judge, quick to pick sides, we need to find a way to celebrate the differences in life. And that starts at home. And if you can create that atmosphere where nobody feels threatened at home to have a difference of opinion or point of view or belief, celebrating differences is a great way to bring your home together and make it a safe place for you and for your kids. The next one is around practicing emotional regulation. Being slow to anger, being slow to react, being the one that creates space. When my oldest son was taking Taekwondo, he got his black belt. Yay. When my son was taking Taekwondo, one of the things they taught him as a child was to create distance between you and the person that's intimidating you. Because distance gives you options. When you're chest to chest, nose to nose, cheek to cheek with the person who's got a problem with you, there's no room to react. There's no room to predict. There's no room to respond. By creating space, it gives you options when you're faced with your enemy. And I think that we, as parents, need to create space, not that our kids are enemies, but that there's room to respond. We're not all up in their face. We're not in their business. We're back a little bit, giving us room to be objective. We need to stay calm. If a conversation becomes heated, we need to model taking a breath, pausing before responding, and not going there in the conversation. We need to demonstrate to our kids how to respond when somebody disagrees with us. Because your kids are not going to agree with you on everything. And how you respond in that moment teaches them what's acceptable and what's not acceptable for when they go out into the world and somebody disagrees with them. Watch any video of any protest on YouTube or social media, and you'll see a bunch of people who don't know how to respond when somebody has a difference of opinion. You'll see agitators. You'll see people who are reactive. You'll see people who go to violence. You're going to see a lot of things happening by people who are not self-regulated, who don't know how to stay calm in the face of a difference of opinion, belief, choice, whatever. You're going to see people in a reactive state. Acknowledge emotions. Say to your kids, I can see that this topic makes you really uncomfortable. and makes you feel strongly. And that's okay. Let's take a break if we need to, and let's come back to it. You don't need to solve all the problems of the world in 5 minutes. It might be an ongoing conversation. Stay calm, create the space between you and whatever's causing the issue, and come back to it later. One thing that I'd love for you as a dad to consider and put into place today is to reaffirm in your home unconditional love. So often we equate love to how we're treated. If you treat me poorly, I don't love you. If you don't respect me, I don't love you. If you don't respond the way I want you to in life, I don't love you. True love has no conditions. True love has no checklist. True love endures some of the hardest things in life. True love forgives when somebody screws up and does something completely horrible. True love doesn't look at a list and go, nope, you didn't meet number 3, 8, 7, and 16, so I can't love you. True love doesn't have a list. There are no demands. Reaffirm unconditional love in your home. Say it often. Remind your kids, no matter what you believe or how you feel, you are always loved and you're always welcome in this home. Even as adults, as you leave the house and go out into the world and create your own life as an adult, no matter what you do and where you go, that key you have to this home where you grew up always works. You can always come home. You're not a stranger. You don't need to knock. This is your home. Say it often, remind your kids, and show it in your actions. Small gestures, a little hug, a shared activity, handwritten note, a text, can reinforce this message that they are unconditionally loved, even if they take the wrong path, even if they go down a road that you don't want for them, even if they make gigantic mistakes in life. Unconditional love. 3 conversation starters for you to think about, and these are in the show notes. What's something you've heard recently that made you think differently? What is something you've heard recently that's made you think differently? Ask them. Sit on the side of the bed and ask them that question. Another one. How do you decide what you believe about something? How do you decide what you believe about something? Or this last one. What can we do as a family to make sure everyone feels heard? What do we do? Your home can become a sanctuary from all the noise and division of the outside world. Your kids bring that noise and division into your home with their device, their phone, computer, laptop, tablet. The world has an entry point into your home. So it's not like they leave it at the front door. They bring it home with them. They carry it with them all the time. Your home needs to be a place where every voice matters and where love comes before ideology, belief, any of those things. By modeling respect, curiosity, and unconditional acceptance, you're not just protecting your kids from division, you're equipping them to be bridge builders in the world. It's time to pour love back into our homes and to make our homes that safe place where connection is fostered, where nobody feels judged if their opinion differs. We're all still trying to figure this out. Just because your kids believe one thing today doesn't mean that there's not the potential they might believe something different in the future. They know what they know and they don't know what they don't know. And you know what? They have that in common with you. You're going to learn stuff tomorrow that you didn't know about today. And you're going to be better for it. There's a great quote from Theodore Roosevelt that says, Do what you can with what you have where you are. Do what you can with what you have where you are. And as a parent, that's my challenge for you. Just do what you can. And do what you can with the tools that you have. Do what you can with the tools that you have where you are right now. Not just geographically, but where you are mentally and physically and emotionally. You're going to improve over time. This is going to be a flexing thing. But do what you can with what you have where you are. And be okay with that. And be okay that you're not it for everybody and that you're not enough for everyone. You're enough for you where you are right now, and you're on a path to get better. And let your kids see you grow. The last thing we need is a bunch of parents who secretly work on themselves in the closet and out of sight, and then present a finished, complete person. We love on social media, YouTube, somebody who takes us on a journey, and they show us how they went from this, to that, to the end result. And they take us through the whole process. And they show us all of the things they're learning while doing, instead of just showing us the results. Social media tends to show us the results. We see everybody's finish line, but nobody shows us the starting line and all the hard running and obstacles that it took to get from the finish line to from the starting line to the finish line. They don't show all those steps. They just show the result. Your kids need to see you running your race and not just the results. So stop hiding. Live in public and let your kids learn alongside of you. And don't be afraid to show your weaknesses, your missteps, and let your kids see you develop over time, because that's what they're going to need to see. They're not going to see that on social media. They're not going to see that on TikTok. They're not going to see that at school. They're only going to see the results, and they're going to see division and hatred and all the things that tear us apart. Your home needs to be the alternative and the safe place where they retreat to, not an exaggerated version of what they're already experiencing, the exact opposite. And it starts today. It's not too late. It's not too late. Start today. Build into your family and create that space for your kids. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. dadspace.ca. Reach out. Hey, thanks for listening to Dad Space. Thanks for hanging out to the end of the podcast. That's a great sign to wherever you're listening to this podcast, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, fill in the blank, that this was a good podcast to send people to. So simply by listening to this point of the podcast, you're helping the show grow. So good on you. Thanks for helping us grow Dad Space. If you want to help us fill our cups over at Dad Space, head over to dadspace.ca. dadspace.ca, simple website, right? dadspace.ca. You can fill up our coffee cup, which helps us then to keep moving forward with the podcast, and use our Buy Me a Coffee link over at dadspace.ca. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting the show. Thank you for coming back. And thank you for sharing, because the more dads we can help, the better. We're all here to help each other grow in community. That's what it's all about. And without you, podcast is pointless. There's no reason to do any of this. So you being here means everything. See you at dadspace.ca. Take care.